Hey guys, I just have a few minutes here on this beautiful spring day, and I'm fixing to go into town. And there's temptation that I have every time I go down Grand Avenue from my house, and that is a place called Catalilies, and it has all these flowers this time of year. It's a garden center, and every time I go by all those gorgeous baskets of flowers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm wanting to just whip in there, and I'm sure I will. I've already bought some, but I haven't done the Canada Lilies run yet. But because I'm thinking about, I just got to go do that, and I realize all I'm doing is buying more flowers to kill, because there's one thing. I have some gifts, but being a green thumb is not one of them. But I have these big, huge porches on my house. I have one across the front of my house, and across the back of my porch. And I love to sit out on the swing, as y'all know. I do a lot of my videoing out on the swings. But I love the flowers. But the problem is my porches are so deep that they don't get sunlight. So I put these flowers under my porch where I can enjoy them when you walk up there. But the truth is, they're going to pretty quickly, the flower part of that plant will cease to bloom because the flowers need sunlight. I can keep ferns and I can keep greenery alive under the porch, but anything that needs some direct sunlight, anything that's going to be this vibrant blooming plant is going to have a certain amount of hours of sunlight. And anything under my porch, it only gets some diffused light. There's light, a little bit of light, but not enough to really make those basket looks like what they look like right now when I go by Catalilies. Well, I realize that's the way we are. We can be alive, and we can have life in us, and we can have greenery, but for us to really bloom, for us to really have the fragrance of life, we are going to need sunlight. We're going to need water, and we're going to need sun. There's two things that's necessary. There's actually other. They're going to have good soil too, but you cannot live you can live with soil and water, but you don't bloom without being in the light. I think about the Bible talking about that we're the light of the world. And he talks about, do you take a light and put it under a lampshade, or do you hide it under a basket? No, you put it on a candlestick where it can be seen. And so I know that there's some things in life that can just put a basket over a light. It's like putting shade on it. People's like, don't be a shade on that. What is it that is shading me or you today that is stopping me from really living life to the fullest? I may be alive, but am I really flowering? Am I really being that fragrant flower that the people around me is enjoying? Is there the beauty to me? And so I know there's a lot of people just doing life. They're alive, and they have that, but they really don't have the fruit of their life. They don't really have that fruit of the flower. Or if it's a fruit-bearing tree, it's the same thing. It's got to have that. You can't stay in the shade. I had a tree out here that I didn't even realize was a blooming tree until our big tree got knocked over. And then all of a sudden, it unblocked the sunlight of the little tree. And all of a sudden, I've got this tree that's got pink blossoms all over it. That I had never seen it bloom because it was in the shade. It was in the shade of a bigger tree. And now when that was removed, it could be itself. So we have things in life that throw shade on us, that all of a sudden we're not really being who we were created to be, or maybe what we even started out to be. Because these plants, I know I'm going to have to buy one of them at least. But that was what it's made for. And I think about the parable of the different grounds in the Bible. The sower was sowing the seed, and he just sowed the seed. And there was seed that fell on hard ground, stony ground, then ground that was thorny ground. It looked really great, but then all of a sudden it talks about that the things started growing up around that fruitful plant. It was a beautiful plant, and then all of a sudden things started coming around it and choking it out, choked out the light, choked out the water, started choking it out. And actually, it was still alive, but it became unfruitful. It didn't have the fruit on it. It didn't say it died and just became some depraved nothing. No, it just didn't bear fruit. I have plants that'll be alive, but I want to be not a blooming idiot. I want to be a fruitful plant. I don't want shade on me. What is it that throws shade on you today? Maybe you need to get out from under the porch. Maybe you need to get the shade off of you, whatever it is. Maybe you're under the shadow of something that's blocking who you are. Let's bloom. Let's bloom where we're planted today and bring some fragrance and beauty into our world, to those around us, our kids, our family, those loved ones, those on the workplace. Wherever I go, I want to be a fruitful plant.